to the finishing line. Time 3 minutes, 59.4 seconds, shattering the 4-minute mile, the Everest of athletic achievement. A great reception for the young medical student who had cut 2 whole seconds off Gunda Haag's world record set up 9 years ago.
I'm very glad to have done it in Oxford, because this was the track on which I ran my first mile race in my life.
So, it is Monday, the 6th of May, 2024, and we are here at the Iffley Road Stadium in Oxford, which is the scene 70 years earlier of the first ever breaking of the 4-minute mile by Sir Roger Bannister. These people you see here now have just done a mass start road mile that started in Oxford and ran out here to Iffley Road. Thousands, well, maybe not thousands, certainly hundreds taking part in that. Today there will later on be, I think, about 20 races on the track. Mine's the first one, and then the last race will be another attempt to break 4 minutes, but it should be quite a bit easier for the guys running today because they'll have super spikes on and of course a tartan track to run on, whereas Sir Roger Bannister would have done it here but on cinders in probably cowhide leather looking heavy spikes of some sort. So he'd probably have run 3:52, I reckon, if he'd had super spikes on and this surface. Conditions for later on actually at the moment look almost perfect because there's flags all around the track and they're not even fluttering in the wind. Now the only problem is this afternoon there is a forecast of thunderstorms and rain, so it's going to be hit and miss. Let's keep our fingers crossed for everybody. Next up, I was very fortunate to grab a few minutes with Steve Cram, who of course is the current British record holder for the mile and also was the world record holder until Noureddin Morsali took the record from him. And Steve has actually run a couple of ultra runs himself. So as this channel is Mile to Dragon's Back, it's very appropriate that we get Steve's insights into his world record achievements and his long distance running achievements. Hi, I'm very fortunate that the legend Steve Cram has joined me and very kindly agreed to answer 3 questions. And as you know, this channel is about the Mile to Dragon's Back, and it's very appropriate, as you'll see in a minute, that Steve's answers are so tailored to such a channel. So Steve, thank you very much, first of all.
First of all, tell Alison to shut up over there. Al, we're doing something important here. Alison, keep your voice down. Go on.
Well, I'll put subtitles on if I need them. Steve, first of all, what is your mile PB?
3:46.32. Long time ago, yeah. Yes. I mean, correct, yeah. I know a couple of things. That's about it, yeah.
And what did it feel like that day in
yeah, I was at the top of form then, and Oslo is a special place to go, and the Dream Mile is a big race, and having broken the 1500 world record a couple of weeks before, I wasn't really necessarily going there to break a record. 7 was in the race, and all the guys were in it. I did want to make sure I was going to win, so we actually didn't go that fast, and at the bell we were way down, but I ran a really fast last lap. So it was yeah, I mean, for all athletes, when you get to a point where you're top of your game and it just sometimes feels too easy. It's not easy, but it feels that way. And that night was one of those. And actually after I finished, I felt as though I could have run a bit quicker.
Well, incredible.
But yeah, it was brilliant. It was brilliant.
Yeah. So it was a purple patch, just one of those marathons.
Yeah, and also Oslo is breaking the world mile record. You want to be part of that incredible club. This is where it started here at Iffley Road. Really, it was the first sub 4-minute mile, and so. I wanted to be, Seb had done it, and Steve Levett, and the great heroes of mine, like John Walker, even going back to Derek Ibbotson, who wasn't long after Roger Bannister. So it was a great club to finally join. It was good.
And it's such a great period for British middle distance running. I mean, it was absolute.
Yeah, it was
purple patch.
It was good, and you had to be good to get in the British team in those days.
Absolutely, yeah. Thank you. And outside of that mile record in the Dream Stadium of Oslo, is there another mile or 1500 metre race that absolutely is your favourite?
I mean, yeah, it's hard all these years later to kind of categorise things. I mean, I think when I won the World Championships, which at that time was the first World Champ, so it was a in the Olympics, we'd had a lot of boycotts and things. So it was the first one where everybody was there. But it was also a great tactical race. And one of the things I love about 51, it isn't just about breaking records and running fast times. It's a great tactical race. And that world final was one of those. And I got my tactics right. And one of those slow races where the tension builds and everything. So for kind of executing a plan, that was a great place to do it in a World Championship final.
Oh, and like you say, the inaugural World Championships as well. So there'll always be a first World Champion. Excellent. This was it the last question? Or?
Let's see on back. I know you're running a long way.
Yeah.
I mean,
what's the longest you've run, Steve?
Well, I've twice run the Comrades distance. The first time I did it was actually in it was after the war, the former Yugoslavia, and it's a long story, but it was basically a bunch of NATO kind of military folks had been stationed there, were runners, and they wanted to do something to raise a bit of money for the village they'd been stationed in. And one of them had grown up watching the Comrades Marathon. So we actually did a version of it in where we ran from Jablonnica to Sarajevo, finished in the bombed out stadium. So it's 54 or 5 miles. But we then vowed to go back the next year, the same 10 guys, and do the real Comrades Marathon. So I've done it twice.
Wow.
So 55 miles in one go. Yeah, and it might never happen again, let's put it that way,
So what would be your advice to any miler, like myself, trying to take on such incredible distances?
Yeah, I mean, it depends. I mean, at the height of my training, I was doing, I was doing 12, 13, 14 miles a day and more. I think most I got up to was about 120 miles a week. So it wasn't that, you're kind
wasn't that big a step up?
Well, I used to do 20 milers in training. Obviously, you're going to do 55 miler. What you don't do is try and run a 55 mile in training or anything. I think the furthest I ever went was about 30.
Okay.
So it's really just about getting as much background and time on your feet and all the rest of it. That's what hurts at the end of the day. Fueling during the race or during the event is really important. And you're just going to have to suck up the last 20 miles or so. It's just going to be hard work.
Grit your teeth.
Like
we do in the mile as well, exactly. But for longer. Steve, thank you so much.
Pleasure.
I really appreciate that.
Good luck.
So, after being wished good luck by the British record holder, how did my mile go today? Well, interesting. I'd really been looking forward to this event, not just because it's the 70th anniversary of the 4-minute mile and actually getting to run on the same track, but training had been going really well. I mean, the Monday beforehand, I'd run 5:22 in a session, and I normally race about 10 seconds quicker than I train. So the pacemaker for this race was heading in 77s, so that would have been an ideal pace to come home around about 5:10, something I felt was very doable. So I'm okay here, coming around the first lap, following the pacemaker through in about 80 seconds. But what's really going on is just before the gun went, my heart tripped into a strange rhythm, and that first 400 felt like it was an eyeballs out anaerobic 400 meters. Consequently, this second lap I've dropped right back in the field, dropped the pace by about 5 seconds, and I can barely feel my arms anymore, and I should really have dropped out because I'm spent. The heart's not pumping the blood around the body, it's not getting to the legs, it's not getting to the lungs, and this next lap basically dropped back to about 7-minute miling, because you can see the lead pack going through there, and there I am just coming round the bend about 80 meters adrift. Now the qualifying time for these races was 5 minutes 30, and I didn't really want to completely pull out, but I equally didn't want to waste the timekeeper's precious time. But by now, going through there, I'm looking at well outside 6 minutes, but anyway, what does it really matter? There's the lead guys coming in, and I'm over the back straight there, about 150 metres adrift now. I'm perfectly fine now, by the way, and these funny old heart rhythms don't really bother me in a sedentary life, but if they do happen to coincide with a flat out mile race, they are probably the worst thing that's going to impact outside of a calf tear or a hamstring damage. I did eventually finish in 6 minutes and 24 seconds, a personal worst, but hey ho, there will be better days, and I can't pretend I'm very disappointed, because of all the places for this to happen, this was probably one of the times when I would have most relished the experience of being on top form, and probably would have been competitive with the first and second guys. Bearing in mind the guy who was second was 5 minutes 21-ish, which, as I say, was the time I ran last Monday in a training session. But there's the 1500 metres next weekend. But for now, let's close with some proper miling, with the ladies' A final and the men's A final. The men's A final produced 4 men under 4 minutes, which rounded off an absolutely superbly organised, very enjoyable celebration of the 70th anniversary of the Roger Bannister 4-minute mile. I'll let you enjoy the men's mile finishes
Thank you.